Because startups are very risky and there's not a lot of collateral for banks to take if the loan goes bad, often startups depend on equity investors. Here's some figures that show who invests as a co-owner in the business. That's what an equity investor is. So you can see that friends and family typically invest $25,000 to $100,000. Then there's angel investors. These are people that have quite a bit of money and they invest in businesses, so not just of their friends and family, and they invest $50,000 to $200,000. And then there's micro VC angels or groups of angels, and they go from $250,000 to $2 million. What's interesting about this is that the size of the round, as you can see here on the left, the size of the round obviously is smaller for friends and family. They have less money, and then as individual angels have a little bit more, groups of angels, super angels, micro VC. Well, there's a lot more friends and family out there than there are micro VCs or super angels. This book by Scott Shane is interesting. He shows that many angel investors, if you term anybody that invests in someone else's business, and that could include friends and family, they often only provide less than $10,000. And they don't really help the company that much. And that book recommends that you try to deal with groups of angels who have expertise and can help the business in some way. Then there are companies called venture capital companies who invest the money of other people in startups. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how this works. The venture capital firm, as you can see here in red, takes money. They put some of their own money in, but they also have limited partners. Perhaps some of your investment funds from a pension or from a mutual fund company. They get the money and they invest it into a venture capital fund, and in that fund they invest in multiple investments. So they try to see startups. Typically VCs are a little bit later in the process after the startup has proved that they can gain some customers. The fund lasts 7 to 10 years, and what's interesting is the fund, since they invest in these startups, they own a portion of the company, and at some point they may say that the startup founder needs to be changed. What's interesting about VC is that the outcomes, even though they are trying to choose the best startups and they put a lot of due diligence into it, it's very risky. And so if they invest in 10, 6 of them may fail, a few of them may do kind of okay, and then 1 or 2 do really, really well. And that's just the way venture capital is. It's a high risk, high return proposition for each company, but over all the portfolio, the risk is reduced a little bit. Where venture capital happens, you can see that it happens a lot on the coasts, often where there's the best universities like near Stanford and Berkeley, near Harvard and MIT, where a startup culture has been established for very many years. So here are some of the trade-offs that we've discussed. Grants are great, they're free, they give you free publicity. If it's a competitive process, that signals quality, but the disadvantage is that they're only for certain types of startups, often high technology startups, and it can take a lot of time to fill out all the forms and meet their requirements and so forth. Competitions are very similar. They're also free, give publicity, signal quality. They can also help to build connections. Many of the judges that judge these competitions are angel investors, and they can become champions for the company. Of course, entering these competitions requires time. You have to fill out specific forms and meet their requirement, and it also might alert the competitors. You can try to take loans, and the nice thing about loans is that you don't dilute your ownership, but it's very hard to get loans as a startup, and you have to start paying interest. That can be tough as you're a startup. You can get equity investment, so other people becoming co-owners with you of the business. If they're investors that are well known, that can signal quality. They can also give advice. So one thing that most investors tell entrepreneurs is that you want smart money, you want people as partners and co-owners of the business who can help you in some way. You don't just want money, you want help. And you'll see that in one of the videos that I've assigned. Getting equity funding is that you don't have cash flow issues. You don't have to pay it back right away. the investors get their money back when you exit the company. But this reduces your control of the company, and it dilutes your ownership stake and creates new obligations. So it's something that you should think about carefully before doing it. Those are some of the trade-offs, some of the non-monetary interests. You want to try to see how you can provide value to the resource providers and think of what you're getting from them in addition to just the money.